Jinha walked down the long, clean hallway of the alien ship. His footsteps echoed against the metal floor. As Earth's ambassador to the space aliens, he had seen many strange things, but nothing had prepared him for today. The message from Harin had come while he was in an important meeting. It was so urgent that he left right away. Harin never panicked. Whatever she found must be serious. "Commander Jinha," Harin said when she saw him. She stood straight like the soldier she was, but Jinha could see her hands shaking. "We found something during our inspection. Something they tried to hide from us." The Dralaxians were tall aliens with bodies like crystal. They had met humans only 3 years ago and had invited them to see their science ships as a sign of trust. Harin was there to keep the human team safe. "Show me," Jinha said. Harin led him through many doors, each one more secret than the last. The final door needed special codes that they weren't supposed to have. "I wouldn't break the rules without a good reason," she whispered, "but I heard sounds. Human sounds." The door opened, and Jinha froze. Inside was a lab unlike the others they had seen, and there, floating in clear energy fields, were human children. About 24 of them. Jinha felt his blood turn cold. The children looked to be between 5 and 12 years old. They floated in blue light while machines recorded their heart rates and brain activity. Some had wires connected to their small bodies. "They've been running tests on them," Harin said, her voice breaking. "Testing how they adapt, how their brains work, how long?" Jinha could barely speak. "From what I found in their computers, at least 18 months. They've been taking children from our outer colonies and making it look like accidents." Jinha walked up to one of the floating children. A little boy, maybe 7 years old, hung in the blue light. His eyes were open but empty, like he was drugged, or asleep while awake. The door behind them opened with a hiss. Quan, their pilot and Jinha's best friend, slipped into the room. His face hardened when he saw the children. "The Dralaxian leader is looking for you," he said. "They know something is wrong." Jinha turned to face his friends. The calm mask of a diplomat fell away. In its place was something ancient and terrible, the protective rage of a human defending its young. "Call Earth Command. Now." Jinha stood in the main meeting room, facing the Dralaxian High Minister Tixal. The alien was nearly 9 feet tall, its crystal body catching the light in ways that would normally be beautiful. Now, Jinha only saw a monster who had caged children. "Ambassador Jinha, you went into areas you were not allowed to enter." The alien's voice echoed in the room. "You must return to... You caged human children." Jinha cut him off, his voice quiet but dangerous. "Do you even realize, my God? What have you done?" The room went silent. The 6 other Dralaxian officials shifted uncomfortably, their crystal bodies making soft, ringing sounds. "These are science samples," Tixal finally said. "Collected for important research that helps all species, including humans. Their brains adapt in ways no other species can match." Harin stepped forward, her hand near her gun. "They are children, not samples." "That's just words," another Dralaxian official said. "We made sure they felt no pain. Their minds are asleep during the tests." Jinha felt something wild and protective rising inside him. Something the Dralaxians, with all their advanced technology, couldn't understand. Humans had joined the space community peacefully, but they had never given up what made them human. "Release. Them. All of them. Now." Each word was hard and clear. "That's not possible." Tixal's tone became like a teacher talking to a slow student. "The research is too valuable. Surely, as a smart representative of your species, you understand that science sometimes needs..." Jinha's communication device beeped. He checked it without looking away from the Dralaxian minister. "Earth Command has answered," he said, his voice steady now. "The 7th Fleet has changed course. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Quan stepped forward, showing battle plans on his tablet. "Our ships have already surrounded this station. No one is leaving until those children are safely with us." "You are overreacting," Tixal protested, but there was a new sound in the alien's voice. Uncertainty. maybe even fear. No, Jinha replied. This is me holding back, because what I want to do right now would break every peace agreement we have. He stepped closer to the tall alien, not afraid despite being much smaller. You thought we were just another species to study. You saw how we adapt, how curious we are, how willing we are to work together, and you thought it meant we were weak. Jinha's eyes burned with controlled anger. You forgot what humans do when someone threatens their children. Word spread quickly through the station. Human soldiers arrived, their faces grim as they secured the children and prepared them for transport to medical ships. The Dralaxians protested but did not resist, perhaps finally understanding the gravity of their actions. Jinha supervised the rescue operation, his diplomatic skills now focused on keeping his own people from taking revenge. The children were the priority. Justice would come later. In the medical bay of the human ship, doctors worked carefully to disconnect the alien devices from the children's bodies. Jinha watched through a window, his hands clenched into fists. What were they looking for? He asked Ha-Rin, who had been analyzing the data they'd taken from the Dralaxian computers. They were studying human adaptability, she said, her voice tight with anger. How our bodies and minds change to meet challenges, how we learn faster than any species they've encountered, how we can survive conditions that would kill others. Quan joined them, his face dark with rage barely controlled. They called it evolutionary acceleration. They believed human children could show them how our species advances so quickly. They wanted to copy it, Ha-Rin added. To use it. Jinha watched as a small girl was gently lifted from a stretcher to a medical bed. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, confused and afraid, before a doctor soothed her back to sleep. Send a message to Earth Command, Jinha said, his voice low and determined. Tell them I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. All species must attend. What are you planning? Quan asked. Jinha turned to his friends, his eyes reflecting the stars visible through the viewport behind him. They wanted to understand what makes humans special, he said. Now they're going to find out. The message went out across space as the human ships prepared to depart with their precious cargo. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson about humanity that no laboratory could ever reveal. What happens when the most adaptable species in known space is pushed too far? And it began with a simple truth the Dralaxians had fatally misunderstood. Humans don't just adapt to survive. They adapt to win. 3 days after finding the children, Jinha stood in the great meeting hall of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 37 space-traveling species sat in rising tiers around the circular room. Many whispered to each other, their strange voices creating an odd hum in the air. Jinha waited at the center of the room. Ha-Rin and Quan stood behind him, their faces serious. The human medical ships were safely away, taking the rescued children back to Earth. Now it was time for justice. The council elder, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, raised a staff to call for quiet. This emergency meeting will now begin, the elder said. Ambassador Jinha of Earth has brought serious charges against the Dralaxian people. He will present his evidence. Jinha stepped forward. He wore a simple black uniform with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. He carried no weapons, but the look in his eyes made several alien representatives shift uncomfortably. 3 days ago, Jinha began, his voice clear and strong. We discovered 26 human children being held against their will on a Dralaxian research vessel. They were being used for experiments. They were treated as test subjects, not as living beings with rights. He nodded to Ha-Rin, who activated a display in the center of the room. Images appeared in the air, children floating in blue energy, fields, their small bodies connected to alien machines. A gasp went through the room. Even species that had little contact with humans could recognize the wrongness of what they saw. These children were taken from human colony worlds. Jinha continued. Their disappearances were disguised as accidents. Some were reported lost in space. Others supposedly died in natural disasters. Their families mourned them, never knowing they were alive and suffering. The Dralaxian representative stood up. These accusations are exaggerated. The subjects were kept in comfortable conditions. They experienced no pain. Jinha's eyes flashed with anger. They are not subjects. They are children, and they were not comfortable. They were drugged and helpless. He turned to Harin again, who changed the display. Now it showed medical scans of the children's brains and bodies. The Drillaxians performed invasive tests, Jinha explained. They exposed the children to extreme conditions: heat, cold, radiation, low oxygen. They tested how quickly the children could learn new skills while under stress. They mapped their brain activity during fear responses. The council chamber grew very quiet. But there is more, Jinha said, his voice now dangerously soft. We found evidence that the Drillaxians were not working alone. This caused an immediate stir. Species representatives looked at each other with suspicion. Harin changed the display again. Now it showed communication logs and data transfers between Drillaxian ships and those of other species. The Vordax, the Malurian Collective, and the Tassic Imperium all received research data from these experiments, Jinha said, naming 3 powerful alien groups. They knew human children were being used. They encouraged the research. The representatives from the named species jumped to their feet, shouting denials. The council elder had to bang his staff several times to restore order. These are serious accusations, the elder said when quiet returned. What evidence do you have? Quan stepped forward holding a data device. We have the complete research logs from the Drillaxian ship. We have communication records. We have the testimony of the children themselves. Jinha looked directly at the Drillaxian representative. Your scientists kept very detailed records. They were quite proud of their work. The Drillaxian's crystal body dimmed slightly, a sign of distress in their species. This was approved research, the Drillaxian insisted, though with less confidence. The subjects were treated humanely. Humanely? Jinha's voice rose for the first time. You stole children from their families. You kept them in cages. You treated them like lab animals. He took a deep breath, regaining his control. The Drillaxians wanted to understand what makes humans different, he continued, addressing the whole council now. They were fascinated by how quickly we adapt to new challenges, how fast we learn, how we can survive conditions that would kill other species. Jinha walked slowly around the circle, making eye contact with representatives from many species. Humanity joined this council in good faith. We shared our knowledge. We traded fairly. We followed your rules. His voice hardened. And while we extended our hand in friendship, some of you saw only test subjects, resources to be used. The council chamber was completely silent now. You wanted to know what makes humans special? Jinha asked. Why we advanced from our first space flights to becoming a major power in just a few centuries. Why we adapt where others fail. He stopped walking and stood tall. Today, you're going to find out. Harin stepped forward and activated a new display. It showed a map of human-controlled space. Then one by one, dots of light began to disappear from the map. As I speak, Jinha explained, every human ship is returning to human space. Every human business is closing its offices in non-human territories. Every human diplomat except for those in this room is going home. The council erupted in shocked voices. This was unprecedented. No species had ever withdrawn from galactic society like this. This is not a declaration of war, Jinha said firmly, raising his voice over the noise. This is a declaration of distrust. Humanity will no longer share its resources, its technology, or its people with those who see us as research subjects. The elder banged his staff again. Ambassador Jinha, this action will cause great economic damage to many worlds, including your own. Yes, Jinha agreed simply. It will. But we would rather suffer hardship than continue to be exploited. He turned to face the Drillaxian representative directly. You will return any research data taken from the children. You will pay for their medical care and for help with their emotional healing. You will publicly admit what you did and punish those responsible. The Drillaxian's crystal body flickered with changing colors, a sign of intense emotion. "And if we refuse?" the Drillaxian asked. Jinha's face was like stone. "Then you will never trade with humans again. You will never visit human worlds. You will never benefit from human innovation or resources." He looked around the chamber. The same applies to any species that supported these experiments or that refuses to condemn them now. The council chamber filled with urgent whispers as representatives consulted with their governments through communication devices. The economic impact of a human withdrawal would be devastating for many worlds. Jinha waited patiently. Harin and Quan stood beside him, their faces showing the same resolve. Finally, the elder spoke. "The council needs time to consider this matter and to investigate these claims fully." "You have 3 Earth days," Jinha replied. "After that, the human withdrawal becomes permanent." He turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at the assembled representatives. "You wanted to study human adaptability? Watch carefully, we're adapting right now. We're changing from trusting allies to cautious survivors." His eyes were hard. "And unlike your test subjects, we're not helpless. We're not in cages. And we're not alone." With that, Jinha and his companions walked out of the council chamber, leaving behind a galaxy that was beginning to understand just how badly they had misjudged humanity. The Drillaxians had wanted to know what made humans special. Now they were about to find out, not in a laboratory but in the real world where human determination would reshape the galaxy itself. The 3 Earth days passed slowly. Jinha spent most of that time on the human diplomatic ship, talking with Earth leaders and checking on the rescued children. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen. On the morning of the 3rd day, Jinha sat in his small office looking at pictures of the children. They were safe now, getting medical care on Earth. But the damage done to them might last forever. Someone knocked on his door. "Come in," Jinha said. Harin entered, carrying a data pad. Her face looked tired but determined. "The council is ready," she said. "All 37 species have voted on how to respond to our demands." Jinha nodded. "And?" "It's mixed. 23 species voted to support us. They want the Drillaxians and the others punished. 9 species abstained. They didn't vote either way. 5 species voted against us." "Let me guess," Jinha said. "The 5 who voted against us include the Drillaxians and the 3 species who helped them." "Yes," Harin confirmed. "Plus the Zorthan hive, who have always been against humans joining the council." Jinha stood up. "Then it's time to show them what humans do next." The council chamber was packed, not just with official representatives, but with observers and media from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Jinha entered with Harin and Quan. This time they were joined by 10 more humans, not soldiers or politicians, but ordinary people. There was a teacher, a doctor, a farmer, a builder, an artist, and others. They stood behind Jinha, quiet but strong. The elder called the meeting to order. "The council has voted," the elder announced. "By majority decision, we find that the actions of the Drillaxians and their allies were wrong and against our laws. We order them to return all research data, to pay for the care of the victims, and to accept punishment for those responsible." Jinha nodded, but his face remained serious. "However," the elder continued, 5 council members disagree with this decision. They argue that the research was valuable and that the subjects were treated well enough. The Drillaxian representative stood. "We maintain that our actions were justified. The knowledge gained will benefit all species, including humans." Jinha stepped forward. The room went completely silent. "You still don't understand," he said quietly. "This was never about whether the research was valuable. This was about taking children from their families and treating them like things instead of people." He gestured to the humans standing behind him. "These are ordinary humans from different walks of life. They have come to help you understand what you've done." A woman stepped forward, the teacher. Her name was Minji. "I teach children like the ones you took. she said, her voice gentle but firm. Each child is unique. Each one has dreams, fears, favorite foods, games they like to play. Each one is loved by someone. She looked directly at the Drillaxian. When you took them, you didn't just take test subjects. You took sons and daughters. You took the center of someone's world. Next, the doctor stepped forward. His name was Tai Ho. I've examined the children you returned, he said. Their bodies will heal, but some wounds can't be seen. They wake up screaming in the night. They're afraid to be alone. Some don't speak anymore. He shook his head sadly. You measured their physical responses, but you ignored their minds and hearts. That's not science, that's cruelty. One by one, the other humans spoke. They didn't shout or threaten. They simply explained in clear terms what it meant to be human, what it meant to care for children, what it meant to belong to a species that valued each life. When they finished, Jinha spoke again. You wanted to know what makes humans special, he said. It's not just how our bodies adapt or how quickly we learn. It's how we care for each other. It's how we protect our young. It's how we stand together when one of us is hurt. He looked around the chamber. The species who supported us understand this. The ones who stood against us do not. Jinha's voice became stronger. So now I will tell you what humanity has decided. He nodded to Harin, who activated a display in the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy with human territories highlighted. For the 23 species who stood with us, our borders remain open. We will continue to trade, to share knowledge, to work together. In fact, we will increase our cooperation. Several sections of the map glowed brighter. For the 9 who abstained, we will maintain limited relations. Basic trade will continue, but no sharing of advanced technology or resources. Those sections of the map dimmed slightly. For the 5 who still believe it was acceptable to cage our children. Jinha's voice hardened. Our borders are closed to you. No trade, no diplomacy, no access to human space or human knowledge. Those sections of the map went dark. The Drillaxian representative stood up, crystal body flashing with angry colors. You cannot do this. The council has ruled on fair punishment. You cannot add your own. Jinha looked at the alien calmly. We can, and we will. The council's decision is about legal punishment. Our decision is about trust. And we do not trust you anymore. He turned to address the whole chamber again. But there is more. We have discovered something during our investigation that all species need to know. Quan stepped forward and activated a new display. It showed complex data charts and images of DNA. The Drillaxians weren't just studying human adaptability, Quan explained. They were trying to copy it, to take what makes humans unique and use it to create weapons. Shocked murmurs filled the room. They wanted to make biological weapons that could adapt to any defense, Quan continued. Weapons that could learn and change like humans do. They thought children would be easier to harvest. The room erupted in outrage. Even species that had been neutral were horrified by this revelation. Jinha waited for quiet to return. We found plans to create soldiers and weapons using human genetic material, he said. Soldiers that could adapt to any environment, learn enemy tactics quickly, and survive conditions that would kill normal troops. He looked directly at the Drillaxian representative. You didn't see children. You saw raw materials for your weapons program. The Drillaxian could not respond. Its crystal body had gone almost completely dark, a sign of extreme distress or shame. Jinha's voice softened slightly. Humanity has made a second decision, he said. We will not respond with violence. We will not seek revenge. That is not our way. He gestured to the humans standing behind him. Instead, we will share our knowledge freely with our allies. Not for weapons, but for healing. Not for power, but for progress. The teacher, Minji, stepped forward again. We will open our schools to students from friendly worlds, she said. We will teach what we know about adaptation and learning. The doctor, Teho, joined her. We will share our medical advances to help all species live better lives. he added. One by one, the other humans explained how they would share their skills and knowledge with species that had shown respect for human rights. When they finished, Jinha spoke one last time. You wanted to steal what makes humans special, he said. But what makes us special cannot be taken by force. It can only be shared freely. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from many worlds. Today, the galaxy changes. Not because humans are withdrawing, but because humans are reaching out. To friends. Not to those who would use us. Jinha's voice rang with quiet strength. This is human adaptability. This is human evolution. This is what you failed to understand in your laboratories. As Jinha and his companions left the chamber, the council erupted in activity. Alliances were shifting. Power was changing hands. A new order was beginning, and at the center of it all was a simple truth. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their bodies or even their minds. It was in their hearts. 6 months passed since the council meeting. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Jinha stood by the large window in his new office on Harmony Station, watching ships come and go. The station had once been a neutral meeting place. Now it was the center of what many called the Human Alliance, the 23 species who had stood with Earth. The first group of alien students arrives today, Harin said, entering the office with a data pad. 200 young ones from 12 different species. Jinha nodded, smiling slightly. How are the preparations going? The school is ready. Human teachers have been working with alien helpers to make sure the classrooms work for all species. Harin looked proud. It's the first true multi-species school in the galaxy. This was just one part of humanity's response to the crisis. Instead of closing themselves off, humans had opened their knowledge to their allies. The Human Educational Initiative was bringing students from friendly worlds to learn alongside human children. Quan entered, carrying his own data pad. The medical exchange program is also starting today. 50 doctors from allied worlds will begin training with human medical teams. Jinha turned from the window. And the children? How are they doing? Quan's face softened. Better. The recovery program is working. Most have returned to their families. They still need help, but they're healing. Jinha nodded, relieved. The rescued children had been his main concern through all of this. Their recovery mattered more than any political changes. And what about the Dralaxians and their allies? He asked. Harin's expression hardened. They're suffering. Without access to human trade and technology, their economies are struggling. The Malurian Collective has already replaced its government, hoping we'll open our borders to them again. Will we? Quan asked. Jinha was quiet for a moment. Not yet. Words are easy. We need to see real change first. A soft chime sounded, indicating a visitor. The door slid open to reveal an alien Jinha recognized, Ziv, a representative from the Alteran people, one of Earth's strongest allies. Ambassador? Jinha, Ziv said, bowing slightly. The Alterans were short, blue-skinned beings with large, thoughtful eyes. The Council of Elders has sent me with an unusual request. Jinha gestured for Ziv to sit. What kind of request? Ziv seemed uncomfortable. The Dralaxian High Minister has been removed from power. The new leadership wishes to make amends. They are asking permission to send a small group to Harmony Station. Jinha's face showed no emotion. For what purpose? They wish to meet with the families of the children they took, Ziv explained. To apologize in person and to offer reparations beyond what the council ordered. The room was silent for a long moment. This is not a political matter, Jinha finally said. It's personal. The families should decide if they want such a meeting. Harin nodded in agreement. I'll contact them and ask. It must be their choice. Ziv seemed relieved. Thank you. The new Dralaxian leadership seems sincere in their regret. They have already punished those responsible more harshly than the council required. After Ziv left, Jinha returned to the window. Below he could see a ship docking, the first transport bringing alien students to the new school. They're learning, he said quietly. Who? Quan asked. The Drillaxians? All of them, Jinha replied. The whole galaxy is learning what it means to deal with humans. 2 weeks later, Jinha stood in a large meeting room on Harmony Station. With him were 12 human families, parents of the children who had been taken. They had agreed to meet with the Drillaxian delegation. You don't have to do this, Jinha told them. No one would blame you for refusing. A woman named Seo Yun shook her head. Her daughter had been one of the youngest children taken. We need to see them, she said firmly. We need them to see us, to understand what they did to real people, not just test subjects. The others nodded in agreement. These families had shown incredible strength throughout the ordeal. Now they wanted closure. The door opened and 5 Drillaxians entered. They were smaller than the ones Jinha had met before. Younger, perhaps. Their crystal bodies glowed with subdued colors, indicating nervousness or shame. The lead Drillaxian stepped forward and bowed deeply. I am Kel, representing the new Drillaxian government, the alien said. We have come to express our deepest regret for the crimes committed against your children. The room was silent. The human families simply looked at the aliens, their faces showing a mix of anger, pain, and determination. Before we speak further, Kel continued, we wish to show you something. The Drillaxian made a gesture, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed images of Drillaxian cities. In the main squares of each city stood large crystal monuments. These have been placed in every Drillaxian settlement, Kel explained. They tell the story of what our previous government did to your children. They stand as a permanent reminder of our shame and our promise never to commit such crimes again. The display changed to show Drillaxian schools, where young crystal beings were being taught by older ones. We have changed our education system, Kel said. All young Drillaxians now learn about the rights of other species. They learn that progress without ethics is not progress at all. Finally, the display showed a large building. This is our main research center, Kel explained. It has been rebuilt with new rules. All research must be approved by an ethics committee that includes representatives from other species. No research on any intelligent being can be done without clear consent. When the display ended, the room was quiet again. Then Seo Yun stepped forward. My daughter Minji still has nightmares, she said, her voice steady despite her pain. She was 6 years old when you took her. She spent her 7th birthday in one of your labs. Kel's crystal body dimmed with distress. There are no words that can undo such harm. No, there aren't, Seo Yun agreed. But there are actions that can prevent it from happening to others. One by one, the human families spoke. They didn't shout or threaten. They simply told their stories, the pain of losing their children, the joy of getting them back, and the long road to healing that still lay ahead. The Drillaxians listened in silence, their crystal bodies reflecting their emotions in shifting colors. When the last family had spoken, Jinha addressed the Drillaxians. You asked to meet these families to apologize, he said. But I think you've received something more valuable than forgiveness. You've received truth. Kel nodded slowly. We did not truly understand until now. Our scientists saw biological processes. They did not see love. That was your mistake, Jinha said. You studied human biology but ignored human connections. You measured our adaptability but missed our humanity. He gestured to the families. These people could have demanded revenge. Instead, they came here to help you understand. That is human strength. Kel's crystal body glowed with a new color, one Jinha hadn't seen before. We have a request, the Drillaxian said. We do not ask for trade to resume. We do not ask for political forgiveness. We ask only for knowledge. What knowledge? Jinha asked cautiously. We ask to learn how to teach our young ones to value life as you do, Kel replied. We ask for teachers, not technology. Jinha looked at the human families. They exchanged glances with each other, having a silent conversation. Then Seo Yun stepped forward again. I am a teacher, she said. When my daughter is stronger, perhaps we will come to your world. Not to forget what happened, but to help make sure it never happens again. Kel's crystal body brightened with surprise and hope. As the meeting ended, Jinha realized he was witnessing something remarkable. Not just diplomacy or politics, but real change. The galaxy was learning from humanity, not just about technology or science, but about compassion and justice. The Drillaxians had wanted to understand human adaptability. Now they were beginning to see that humanity's greatest adaptation wasn't physical at all. It was the ability to turn enemies into students and pain into progress. 1 year had passed since the discovery of the caged children. Jinha stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the stars. So much had changed in just 12 months. Ambassador, a voice called. Jinha turned to see Quan approaching with a young Drillaxian. The crystal being glowed with soft blue light, a sign of respect and calm. This is Mira, Quan said. She's one of the new Drillaxian diplomatic students. Jinha nodded to the young alien. Welcome to Harmony Station, Mira. Thank you, Ambassador, Mira replied. Her voice had the musical quality of all Drillaxians, but she spoke carefully, trying to match human speech patterns. I am honored to be the first Drillaxian allowed to study here. 6 months ago, after the meeting between the Drillaxian representatives and the human families, Earth had agreed to accept a small number of young Drillaxians into the education program. It was the first step toward rebuilding trust. How are your studies going? Jinha asked. They are challenging, Mira admitted. Not the academic work, but understanding how humans think. Your species values things we never considered important. Such as? Jinha was curious. Individual choice, personal connections, the right to decide your own path. Mira's crystal body shifted colors slightly. In Drillaxian society, the needs of all come before the needs of one. But we never asked if the all truly needed what our leaders claimed. Jinha nodded thoughtfully. This was the kind of change he had hoped for, not just political agreements, but real understanding. Ambassador Jinha, Harin's voice came through his communication device. The children are ready, Jinha smiled. Thank you, Harin. I'll be right there. He turned to Mira. Would you like to see something important? Something that might help you understand humans better? The young Drillaxian's colors brightened with interest. Yes, please. Jinha led Mira to a large room that had been set up as a performance space. Rows of seats faced a small stage. Many of the seats were already filled with humans and aliens from various species. What is happening here? Mira asked. A school performance, Jinha explained. Some of the children who were rescued are putting on a play they wrote themselves. It's part of their healing process. Mira's colors dimmed slightly. The Drillaxian, equivalent of a frown. The children my people heard are performing? Why would they want to do this? Watch and learn, Jinha said gently. They took seats near the back. Harin joined them, nodding politely to Mira. How are they? Jinha asked. Quietly. Nervous but excited, Harin replied. The therapists say this is a huge step forward for them. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the audience. A human woman stepped onto the stage. Seo Yun, the teacher whose daughter had been among the captives. Thank you all for coming, she said. What you're about to see is a story created by the children themselves. They wanted to share their journey with you. She stepped aside and the play began. 20 children came onto the stage, ranging in age from 7 to 13. They were dressed in simple costumes. Some played humans. Others played aliens of various species. The play told the story of children taken from their homes and placed in cages. But it wasn't just about their captivity. It was about their rescue, their return home, and their healing. The children acted out their fears, their nightmares, but also their hopes and their growing strength. Jinha watched Mira carefully. The young Drillaxian's crystal body cycled through many colors as she watched. Surprise, sadness, understanding. In the final scene of the play, the children formed a circle on stage. Each one stepped forward to say a line. "I was afraid, but now I am brave," said a small boy. "I was alone, but now I have friends," said a girl with long dark hair. "I was silent, but now I can speak," said another. One by one, they shared their journey from trauma to healing. The last to speak was Minji, Seoyun's daughter. She was small for her 8 years, but her voice was clear and strong. "We were in cages," she said, "but now we are free. And we choose to be kind, even to those who were not kind to us, because that is what makes us human." The audience sat in stunned silence for a moment, then erupted in applause. Many had tears in their eyes, not just humans, but aliens too. Jin-ha looked at Mira. The young Dralaxian's crystal body was glowing with a pure white light he had never seen before. "Are you all right?" he asked. Mira seemed unable to find words. "I did not understand until now. The children, they are so strong. So forgiving." "Not forgiving," Jin-ha corrected gently. "Healing. There's a difference. They may never forgive what was done to them, but they refuse to let it define them." After the performance, the children came out to meet the audience. When they saw Mira, some hesitated, but Minji walked right up to the young Dralaxian. "Did you like our play?" she asked simply. Mira's crystal body dimmed to a soft blue. "It was beautiful. And I am sorry for what my people did to you." Minji looked at the alien thoughtfully. "You didn't do it. You're learning to be better. That's good." With that simple wisdom, the child moved on to greet others, leaving Mira glowing with a new understanding. Later that evening, Jin-ha met with Ha-Rin and Quan in his office. They had reports to review, updates on the various programs that had grown out of the crisis. "The Human Educational Initiative has now expanded to 30 worlds," Ha-Rin reported. "Over 5,000 alien students are studying with human teachers. The medical exchange is also growing," Quan added. "Human doctors have shared treatments that have already saved thousands of lives across the galaxy." Jin-ha nodded, pleased. "And the children? How are they really doing?" Ha-Rin smiled slightly. "You saw them tonight. They have bad days, of course. The trauma will always be part of them. But they're living, not just surviving." "And the Dralaxians?" Jin-ha asked. "Their new government continues to make changes," Quan said. "They've completely restructured their research programs. All experiments must now consider the well-being of all involved, not just the potential knowledge gained." Jin-ha looked out at the stars again. "They're learning. We all are," Ha-Rin said quietly. A message alert sounded on Jin-ha's desk. It was from the Council of Elders, the highest authority in the galactic community. "The Council has approved the Human Rights Accord," Jin-ha read aloud. "All member species must now recognize the rights of children of all species. Research on any intelligent being requires informed consent, with special protections for minors." It was the culmination of a year's work, a new set of laws that would protect children throughout the galaxy. "It won't bring back what the children lost," Quan said, "but it might prevent others from suffering the same fate." Jin-ha nodded. "That's how humans adapt. We take our pain and use it to build something better." He thought about the play he had just watched, children turning their trauma into art, into a message of hope. The Dralaxians wanted to understand, "What makes humans special?" Jin-ha said. "They thought it was something in our bodies or our brains, something they could study in a lab." He shook his head. "But what makes us special can't be seen under a microscope. It's how we connect with each other, how we protect our young, how we turn enemies into friends, and pain into progress." Ha-Rin smiled. "That's what the galaxy is, learning from us now." "And that," Jin-ha said, "is worth more than any technology we could share." Outside the window, ships from dozens of worlds moved through space around Harmony Station. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft, working together, learning from each other. The galaxy had changed. not through war or conquest, but through understanding. The species who had once seen humans as interesting test subjects now saw them as teachers, as partners, as friends, and the children who had been caged were now helping to build a world where no child, human or alien, would ever be treated as less than precious again. This was humanity's true power. Not adaptation for survival, but adaptation for something greater, the ability to transform darkness into light, and to bring others along on that journey. The Drillaxians had wanted to know what made humans different from all other species in the galaxy. Now they knew.